espionage network that you just asked me about, this is not something new. Since we are in the midst of a heightened, tensions between the two countries on the both sides of Radcliffe. So that is why it has gained a lot of media attention as well. So this kind of, vulnerabilities have been exploited by enemy agencies across the border for times, for many years. If we go back to, the eras of 1960s, 70s, 80s, this has been happening. So if I take you to the Pakistan High Commission, in the Pakistan High Commission itself, many ISI agents and officials, they are deputed under, they're taking pseudonames and they are deputed there. And they then are, tasked to identify vulnerable, citizens, vulnerable groups, and then they exploit and try to subvert and sabotage them. So entire system, as we see what has been happening, these YouTubers, particularly talking about Miss Jyoti Malhotra and how her proximity to the PIO, the Mr. Danish. See, we should not be, putting the cart before the wheel too early. Let the investigation happen completely before, Miss Malhotra being, declared guilty or something of that matter. But as the things stand as of now, this huge thing coming up on the backdrop of Pahalgam and the visits of this lady to Pahalgam and then Bali and other things, her visits to Pakistan as well, dots do join for themselves. So it would be very difficult to, deny this. But I must tell your audiences that the intelligence agencies, we try to counter this subversion tendencies of the enemies. We try to counter them. We try to make sure that they're not able to subvert our, normal citizens. If I take you to Pakistan, there was some time back Project Hyderabad. So what that Project Hyderabad was, it tried to create a honey trapping network through which women were trained and they would try to lure Indian high dignitaries, high officials in sensitive positions. I would not like to name those here, but this is the entire thing that they try to do. What happens because of this? That they try to approach through covert means, they try to lure them, they try to maybe try to coerce them. So these are the different tools through which they try to create that fantasy for them. As far the YouTubers are concerned, so these YouTubers, when they get a lot of fame, vulnerabilities, they are natural. And these handlers sitting across the border, they are targeting such people. They try to exploit their weak points. First they will approach you and share their own sensitive things so that they want to make you a little comfortable, and then they will either coax you into that network. If you are honey trapped, and then you are blackmailed, and a lot of these things happen, money is given, a lot of these things can happen. See, if we go back to 1950s America, CIA has been a pro at this. Sheldon Gottlieb, this gentleman, he pioneered a project called Project Midnight Climax, through which in the Bay Area of San Francisco, they try to create these brothels where they would try to, tap in, enemy officials, for example, the Soviet officials. And this was entirely under the surveillance of the CIA, and then the USSR, it was not to be left too far behind. You know about these sparrows in the Kazan province. They in State School 4. I don't want to delve too much into that, but just to give an idea that this is a tool used by intelligence agencies to get some sensitive information, military information, some critical assets, nuclear installations, or in India's context, we talk about DRDO or all these missile technologies. They are very sensitive. So all of this thing, it works together. There is whole of geopolitics involved in this as well. So and for the audiences, it must be clear that this is definitely not that something new. This has been happening. It is just that it doesn't garner so much limelight. So for the citizens, it is a kind of a revelation. See, as I told you before, she is just a case study. She's just a tip of the iceberg. the entire machinery of the ISI, if I talk in reference to the ISI, they have a network of sleeper cells. They have a network of OGWs, uh, basically to cater to their operations, covert operations, overt operation inside India. So what happens is when CAA happened, anti-CA protest, so there could have been, they target people who are vulnerable. For example, a Muslim who has been, his family, someone from his family, he's been killed. He will be targeted. A Sikh from Punjab, a victim of maybe 1984 Sikh riots, he may be targeted, or a Hindu for that matter, he may be targeted. A Christian may be targeted. Similarly, they try to also find out caste vulnerabilities. All of these things, they try to identify them, and then entire team is after that. And gradually, it is only the vulnerable people. And on the other side, if you go a little further, talking about these YouTubers, so these YouTubers, they come into too much media limelight, because of which it becomes a little easy prey. You can easily these be tracked by the agencies on the other side of the border. So in that regard, it is very difficult to assess who, why Miss Jyoti Malhotra or why not somebody else. They must have targeted many other people also. It is just that she fell prey, and to a great irony to the people who have been, kind of charged in this offense. They are across religions. Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai आपस में मिलके spying कर रहे हैं. So this is absolutely, I want to send this message also. This is not about religion. Vulnerabilities can be across all religions. And we as citizens, we as responsible citizens, as you rightly pointed out in the era of social media, Mr. Frank Hoffman, he gave this terminology of hybrid warfare. We no longer need to go into, battlefronts and, wage that conventional warfare. No, warfare will be fought in our minds, in the cyberspace, sabotaging of the human mind. You know what these agencies and what the enemy countries do? They discredit your economic policies. They foment unrest. They try to create a fear psychosis. Now, when this entire Operation Sindoor was under operation, there was a coterie of people from across the border try to spread misinformation. This is also a kind of sabotage. You are kind of creating panic, which makes it all the more difficult for the security agencies, the administration, and the government to actually do what is required to be done. So, as responsible citizens, as you asked me before, rumor mongering needs to be avoided. And if we spot any suspicious activity, for example, a friend of yours, a YouTuber or otherwise, is going beyond his means, and some proximity to these, officials from across the border or maybe Pakistan High Commission, it must be reported. It is your responsibility as a citizen, because that's you need not go on the front and take the bullet for the country, but this is your bullet. You need to be aware. You need to help. You report to the nearest police station. You report to the nearest administrative official. Be alert. Be vigilant citizens, and that is how we can thwart the enemy on the other side of the border. That's the criticality of intelligence. Intelligence is timely information. If I give you information 5 days hence, it would be of no use. So in this case, I think that if it comes out to be true, this is, I think, happened too much after Pahalgam. So the intelligence agencies, they use various means. It may be human intelligence, it may be, tech in, or other channels, open source intel, OSINT also. But I cannot share much detail about how we go about the business. But suffice to say this, that we use all tools at our disposal in the effort to safeguard national security. It is very important. And as you said, the quicker we identify these kind of people who are sharing sensitive information, the greater is the impact of that intelligence. So, if you also mentioned about Intelligence Bureau and the RNAW, let me take you back to the India's independence. Still mid 1960s, we only had the Intelligence Bureau catering to both the internal as well as the external intelligence. It was after a little bit of, we got a little bloody nose in 1962, and lack of intelligence capabilities there with the China war. Our defense committee decided to have a dedicated intelligence agency, to cater to the external intelligence. It was then that the legendary spy master, Shri Rameshwar Nath Kao, RN Kao, I'm a big fan of him, along with the then Prime Minister, Srimati Indira Gandhi, they, came up with this idea of setting up RNAW in 1968, September 1968. And from then on, we have seen how much, dedicated tasks have been assigned to both these agencies. Although there are no defined lines, but then it makes it easier to, carry out operations and all of that. And we have been doing good work for national security. See, any information that uh, prejudices the security of the country. But to be specific, as a citizen, as a community, as a society which is using social media, uh, not posting any deployment of military troops, any military movement, particularly in the forward areas. Also, you may casually post a picture when you are in a cantonment or in the vicinity of any military establishment. Avoid doing that. You may land yourself in a lot of trouble. Also, while your interactions on social media, particularly with people across borders, across various countries, because we are a small family. The world is a small family. Be a little careful. Be a little careful. Be alert. That avoid sharing any information of your area. Someone may casually ask that is there any army establishment near you? Is there what are the activities going on? What are the infrastructure projects? I'll just give you an example of my hometown. I come from Akhnur. So Akhnur is a border town, and there is a bridge which is of strategic importance, the Akhnur Bridge. And in the 1965 war, Pakistan launched this Operation Grand Slam to take down that bridge because that would have cut down logistical supplies. So people would think what importance a bridge could have. A bridge is a very, very strategic asset because particularly in the border areas. When I was posted in Assam, there is this Kolia Bhamora bridge in Tejpur, which is very critical for troop movement, logistical, food supplies in the times of war or otherwise as well. So the citizens must be careful to not share such information. I must also add here that this entire geopolitical scenario that is running across Pakistan is not, it's not only Pakistan behind this. We talk about China. China has been a long-term ally of Pakistan. The MSS. When we saw the tariff war between China and US, rallying up, China, the timing of Pahalgam and China's involvement cannot be ruled out. That speaks for itself. Our neighbor on the eastern front, we have Bangladesh. Until recently, we had very good relations with Ms. Sheikh Hasina, but now there is a stooge of the Americans in Dhaka, Mr. Yunus, who everybody knows is the prodigy of the Bill Clinton Foundation, and he has been making very what you say idiotic statements about inviting China in Bangladesh and Seven Sisters and all of that. They also have plans of setting up a Chinese airbase in Lalmonirhat. So all of these things, when we are caught up in a quagmire of this ecosystem around global South, we, along with our security establishments, the government, the intelligence agencies, the police, the law and order machinery, we the citizens as well, and as well as your community, the journalists, all of us, we need to act very responsibly so that we create a narrative. We stand shoulder to shoulder with our soldiers. That is how we can help this country. Because I personally am very passionate about the future of our country in the coming century, and I genuinely believe this century belongs to India. And the enemies, neither the US, neither the Chinese people, they wouldn't want India to soar high. So this is a big geopolitical game, the big espionage game at work in weakening India. In weakening India through various, Pakistan had this idea of weakening India by 1,000 cuts, but now it's the CIA, the MSS, maybe a little bit of ISI also coming through. The Turkey Azerbaijan angle cannot be ruled out. So a lot of things, lot of things. So we citizens need to be careful and act responsibly in thwarting any threat to our country. See, ISI, everyone knows about the ISI, but ISI is only one of the intelligence agencies of Pakistan. the other sister agencies as well. There is an intelligence bureau in Pakistan also. So all these agencies, along with their military intelligence, their own local networks, that really makes up for a strong. In fact, I would say Pakistan being a rogue state, it gives a lot of license to ISI to carry out its operations. We being a country that runs by rules and order, it is we conduct our operations in a manner that is not very rude. So Pakistan uses a lot of the networks that it built up during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. At that time also, we know Mr. Hafiz Saeed. He was sent to Afghanistan as a young mercenary. He proved his mettle there, came back to Pakistan, and he was made the head of Lashkar-e-Toiba, which is now, finds its manifestation in Jamaat-ud-Dawa. Pakistan keeps denying all of that, but it cannot shy away from reality. Reality is for everyone to see. And as their Mr. Defense Minister embarrassed himself on a American news channel, admitting to their involvement doing this dirty work. So a lot of these things are happening, which I believe Pakistan tries to do all these things. And as for this spy network within India, the sleeper cells, they use these people. They use their handlers within the High Commission. They do, there are a lot of illegal migrants, from we have from Bangladesh, we have from Pakistan. Like now, our government mentioned about, people to vacate India without any with Pakistan passport. But there are people without Pakistani passports as well. Illegal, it's very difficult to find out. So it's our responsibility to, kind of spot those people. Agencies are doing, but civilians also need to act on that. Also, there may be infiltrations in certain organizations. I cannot say, I cannot verify that. There could be. So there are a lot of these things that under the carpet, under the cover, which we need to uncover, and we have to act collectively to ensure that Pakistan's nefarious designs don't come out to be successful. And I must one thing I must add here, that by this Operation Sindoor, we have taught Pakistan that we can't be caught down by their nuclear rhetoric anymore. So that also emboldens our intelligence capabilities as well. Now our stance is not we will not be like second strike. So, no first use doesn't mean we cannot neutralize the threat before it has targeted us. So a lot of these things which work behind the scenes need not be told to the general public, but suffice to say for the public that they need to act responsibly and don't compromise the security of a country for a just picture, a beautiful picture. Don't compromise that.